got 4 cars and they all black. Got 4 bras and they all that. We call that ballin'. Doing this is my calling. Flow is so appalling. My phone.
What's up? I'm Sal.
I'm RJ. This is Dos.
And Tres. This week we're gonna go deep into the Cowboys draft class. We mentioned that last week. We really wanted to get into this. We've been sharing our thoughts since season ended, and now we're gonna get them all out on the video. So in the first round, the 28th pick, the Cowboys selected Taco Charlton, defensive end out of Michigan. Dude's huge, 6'6", 270-ish pounds. Great player at Michigan in his senior season. He didn't really get on the playing field much before then, but he really showed out this year whenever he got on the field. He doesn't have like the quick twitch moves that you would like out of like a true pass rushing end, but pairing him up with Rod Marinelli is really gonna do him a lot of good. The biggest critique on him was that he was inconsistent, but then he went on a complete tear at the end of the season last year, and then in the big game against Ohio State, that was his biggest game and the biggest stage. So I think the Cowboys really like what they saw. They have a little Michigan connection, and we'll get into that more whenever we get on to Jourdan Lewis.
He showed up big time in big time games all the time, and with players they drafted last year like Zeke and Dak, that's just a trait that you don't want to predominantly just look at, but it is something that you really like when a player can show up big time in big time games. One thing about Taco is you don't really see where all that 275, 280 pound is, because he's so, I guess you could say, slender, but in a way that's a really good thing because he's so athletic. And I saw him in person. He was right in front of me when I went to the Star in Dallas. It was true what they said about him. Where does all that weight go? But that's just so, like, nowadays in the NFL, that's so prototypical now of defensive ends of what you want. A great thing that stands out about him is that his 10-yard split and his 20-yard shuttle, the only other person that was on par with those times was Myles Garrett. He had the exact same times, I think, if not better.
And really, physically, anyone that really stacked up with Garrett was going to be Taco. They have similar weight and height. Garrett had the freak 40 time, but Taco really makes up with that on his first step quickness and really his relentless effort.
Yeah, and some of the Cowboy fans might say that they were settling here, but just like past years and stuff, it always feels like since McClay and everybody started really taking over and really just structuring this the right way, as we've seen now, we can see with the 13-3 year and everything in the draft picks, even though people might say they were settling, that at the end of it, I still think we're going to get the best player that was there, and that was Taco. To them, I trust in them.
The last thing was that they only had 3 pass rushers with the first round grade, which if you look at the draft board, you could guess that those definitely Garrett, Charles Harris,
and Barnett,
which, those guys were a tier above everyone else just because they had consistent tape. But Taco really has all the tools to become a great player, and pairing him up, like I said before, with Marinelli is really going to unlock all the potential that he has. So in round 2, I don't know how this guy fell all the way to the back end of the second round, was Chidobe Awuzie. That's how I'm going to pronounce his name. I've heard Awuzie, I heard Chidobe, a bunch of... His nickname is Cheeto, so we'll just go by that too.
Yeah.
But this guy played all over the field for Colorado. I talked about him in our mock draft. I definitely thought he was a first round pick. Perfect fit for any team just because of his versatility. Different from Byron Jones a few years ago where they saw him versatile because of all of his athletic traits. Chidobe just showed it on film. He showed out in every season, played nickel corner, outside corner, safety, everything. So he really gives a boost to a secondary that was really depleted in the offseason.
Same thing here. I really didn't see how he fell so deep. We had him going to the Saints in our mock draft at 32. Mm-hmm. Yeah. After Tease went Quincy, and I was like, okay, this has to be Chidobe coming up right here, and lo and behold, it was with the awesome pick that Drew Pearson announced. And I absolutely love the pick because he just does everything. He just does everything you want in a cornerback nowadays to be able to do, because this is the hardest position to play on the field besides quarterback. Being able to play all the way around, just being able to move him around, it's just going to add so much more competition and depth when it comes time to choose what you want to do on the defensive side of the ball. It makes it harder in a way because there's going to be so much competition, but then again, it makes it easier on the coaches come Sunday.
The thing I really love about Chidobe's game is that, yeah, he's a corner, but the first thing that everyone mentions whenever you watch tape and the scouting report is that the dude just plays like a linebacker. He's not afraid to come down and blast you. And that's kind of the similar thread with a few of the players that they drafted for the new revamped secondary.
And to add on to that, his tackling, man, I can see in the near future, start of the season, and a lot of scoop and scores. The way when he comes in and blitzes from the slot and the way he tackles, and you can tell when you put on the tape and when you watch him blitz from that slot position, he just goes and attacks the quarterback, and I tell you right now, there's going to be a lot of fumbles back there the way he attacks the quarterback. So Jourdan Lewis, I knew about him, but it seemed like a lot of people didn't want to put him out there considering the situation, which we'll get into later. And the biggest thing that surprised me is that he was still on the board, and Todd McShay saying he was the best available 30-40 picks ago, and he has such sticky hands. He's such a playmaker. He's in the wide receiver's pocket, hip pocket all the way, totally all the way. Sometimes he uses his hand too much, but man, that's what you need. And to me, I see him being the guy that's going to frustrate Odell. And that's what I want. That's what I want, especially with Odell frustrating us for the past couple of years. That's what we need, and I feel like he's going to be that guy.
Jourdan Lewis is the perfect nickel corner. The dude is super aggressive, and he can get into your face, and he'll just stay with you stride for stride. And you know, with whatever happens with Orlando Scandrick, I think this is a guy, it's perfect replacement for him. When they made the pick, I really didn't like it because there were a lot of players on the board that I still liked. I mean, it was a deep defensive class and a lot of players that didn't have the off-the-field issues. The thing I'll say about Jourdan Lewis is, guilty or not, most guys that are guilty will take a plea deal and, you know, pay off whoever they want to just to get out of it. He specifically said that he's not guilty. Whether that's true or not is still to be determined.
Ryan Switzer. I've been talking about this guy, had my eye on this guy forever, been watching his tape. This guy is he is a Swiss Army knife. And he does everything he wants to. Punt return, he can later line back up, hopefully, and kick return, and being in the slot. And even though he's a small guy, I feel like he is such a good route running, and he's big enough up top that he still knows how to beat press besides his size. And I had been eyeing this guy since after the ACC championship game against Clemson. At the time, Trubisky wasn't the quarterback, but even though he was still balling out and showing out, I think he had like I know for sure over 120 receiving yards that one game. And then throughout the season, he just kept setting records, and he was mainly what made Trubisky what he was going into the draft, a really good, solid, prototypical quarterback. And that was Trubisky's basically number one receiver out there. He holds the record for most punt return touchdowns besides Devin Hester in the ACC conference, right? Just specifically. This is a guy that's going to automatically just challenge Lucky specifically, and I feel like, you know, even though Terrence is the number 2 receiver, with Ryan, like what I was saying with Ryan Switzer's ability to know how to beat press despite his size, I feel like he has a real chance to move up in the depth chart as soon as everything kicks off, training camp. Everything leading into training camp, and the wide receiver is just going to be a real doozy.
The thing I really like about Switzer, I'm not as high on the guy as RJ, but he's really good in the intermediate routes. A lot of people are comparing him to Cole Beasley, and I don't mind that because Dak is a young quarterback. If you have 2 receivers that can just dominate those intermediate spots and find the open spot in the field, that just helps him even more, and that just leads to more first downs and more touchdowns. So that's great for the offense. And then in his return game, I mean, the dude is electric. He just freaking blows past people, and he's not afraid to get hit either. So he'll just spin out of that. He'll go through people. Great return man.
He played running back in high school, which I know Brian Broaddus was saying that, you know, it's not a knock on Cole, but I feel like after he catches the ball, he can take it to the house at any time. He's more explosive. He has the vision, and he has everything like you would see in a running back running the ball right after he catches the ball. To me, maybe it might seem like a long shot, maybe it might sound dumb, but he's Christian McCaffrey if McCaffrey never played running back and only played receiver.
Now skipping up, we're going to jump all the way to the 7th round and go to the pick, which is Noah Brown, the wide receiver out of Ohio State. The dude is a big receiver, big frame, big hands, really knows how to use his body to shield defenders and go up and get the ball, which is great because we haven't really had that outside of Des Bryant. And the thing I like about him is he is super willing to go in and make a block, which is great for this offense because we're a run-first team. His crack blocks are vicious on film. He was severely underutilized at Ohio State, and Zeke Elliott actually was petitioning with the Cowboys coaches and staff since the season ended for them to draft this guy. So hopefully that pans out. Something's in the works. Hopefully he's the guy that Zeke wanted them to draft.
Yeah, I know Marcus Mosher, he put out a scouting report on him before the draft or anything leading up to the draft. So he hit the nail right on the head with everything, his prototypical size. He was very underutilized at Ohio State with the quarterback carousel they had going on over there. He had that breakout game against Oklahoma with those, I think it was 3 or 4 touchdowns. 3 touchdowns, the one where he caught behind the guy's back. And he just has everything that you're looking for in today's NFL wide receiver.
He's got a lot of potential. So the reason we skipped up is because I wanted to talk about the wide receiver competition. I really only see 2 starters on the team, and that's Dez Bryant and Cole Beasley. Terrence Williams, good receiver. I mean, they didn't want to break up the chemistry inside the wide receiver room, which is evidenced with them re-signing him and Bryce. But really, those 2 players have been super inconsistent when on the field. Whenever Terrence has been looked to be a wide receiver 1, he's never stepped up. Bryce, I'm still thinking about the Packers playoff game. I mean, and he's only on a 1-year deal, so I really think that he could be out the door with Switzer and Noah Brown. These 2 guys together do better what Terrence and Bryce do, so they're really replaceable. Maybe not Terrence because he is number 2. He offers a lot of speed, and he's been with the team for a while. But I definitely see Bryce. I don't know if he's going to make the cut.
Yeah, I think right after this draft, I think maybe some of Lucky's and Bryce's feelings maybe have gotten a little hurt right after that, and they realized, man, shit, someone's right on my tail now. Which they really haven't been doing this past training camps, is having to battle for their job, having their job on the line. And this coming up training camp, it will be on the line, especially with everything that these guys can do. Especially with Switzer and Brown having that so much potential in his prototypical size. It's going to be awesome, and it's going to be, at the end of the day, when training camp ends, whatever they decide on it's going to be sad for the agony of defeat and the thrill of victory. It's going to be like that.
And another thing is, Bryce was signed on that 1-year deal before Terrence was signed. I don't think the Cowboys ever thought that Terrence was going to sign to that deal that he got, which was very team friendly and unexpected. So really, Bryce is a luxury item right now, and he's more expensive than the guys that are coming in. So the cards are not in Bryce's favor at the moment.
Okay, so leading into the 6th round, unfortunately, didn't get to pick until the 6th round, and Xavier Woods was still there, which some Cowboy fans, and I know a lot of the guys, Kavanaugh and guys from 105, they would have liked to draft him in the 3rd round, and lo and behold, he was still there in the 6th. And somebody from last year decided Matt Castle was worth a 5th, so we had to wait until the 6th. And lucky enough, they did find a trade partner, some team that still rebuilding, still needed some extra draft picks.
It was the Jets.
It was the Jets. All right, and with getting the compensatory picks next year, it's time to move up. We had to get this guy before he's gone. And Xavier Woods, there he is, still there.
Yeah, the word was that they definitely were really considering him in the 4th round, but I guess they just saw the upside of Switzer and said, all right, we'll take a chance. Maybe he'll slide. And fortunately, he did. Splitting my favorite pick between him and Chidobe is hard. I mean, because Woods' tape is incredible. He was first team All Conference USA for 3 straight years, had 14 interceptions over his college career. Just a really great player. And the dude comes down the field and blasts you. And I mean, his ball skills, you can't teach that. I mean, he's incredible going up and getting the ball, tracking down the player. I mean, this guy has the highest upside, I think, of any of the picks that they had in this draft, and he was a 6th rounder. I really love this player. I changed my mind. This was my favorite pick. So also in the 6th round, the Cowboys drafted cornerback Marquez Wilson out of Florida State. Now, Marquez, he's not a top-tier talent or anything, but he shows potential. He actually started off playing basketball at Florida State, and then he decided, well, I'm just going to go out for football. He only had 2 interceptions over his career, but he has all the tools physically to be a good corner. And like we said before, Rod Marinelli, I mean, he's going to teach him everything that he needs to know. Plus, it adds young depth to the secondary, which was depleted. Like I said before, some guys might be going out the door either this year or next year, so they need as much depth as they can get.
Yeah, he was a solid guy at Florida State. Didn't always jump out and really make all the plays, but it adds just more depth, adding more competition. What it's going to do is just bring out the best in everybody come camp. And I keep talking about training camp because I'm so excited for it.
So all these secondary picks leads into how we think the secondary is going to plan out, and really this is how I see it going. Anthony Brown's going to be a starter on the outside because, I mean, he showed flashes. He's a good player. He deserves to be outside.
His best game was, he showed that, I think, automatically, like coming into this season, was against Antonio Brown. Limited him to only 18 yards on 5 receptions.
And then Skandrick, of course, is going to be a starter. They need that veteran leadership, but not on the outside. I think he's going to be the nickel guy. He has the speed, he has the experience to deal with guys in the nickel position, or the slot position. And then on the outside, I think Chidobe is going to be the starter on the outside. He has all the size, he has all the talent. Like I said before, I thought he was a first-round pick. He's going to be the starter on the outside. The one thing that may surprise people, and I like this player, Xavier Woods is going to be the starting strong safety. Byron's going to play free safety. I don't think they're going to get through training camp and not think, wow, this guy just shows flashes. I mean, think of all the turnovers that he can cause coming down, making a hit, or tracking down the ball. He's going to win the spot. Jeff Heath is a good player, but I don't think he's starter material. And plus, his value on special teams is more than his value at strong safety. So I think Woods is going to be the starter there. And then Jourdan Lewis, he's going to be splitting time with Skandrick in that slot position. I don't think it's going to be like a true starting role for Skandrick, only on paper. Yeah. This is going to be a great secondary. I mean, plus, most times you play at least 4 corners as it is.
Yeah, you usually roll out there with only 2 cornerbacks and 4 cornerbacks, 2 safeties, and 4 down linemen most of the time. It's that 4, 2, that's 6, plus 4, that's 10. So, no, 3 down linemen. So, yeah, normally you just roll out there. Sometimes people just want to spread the ball around like Green Bay did to us in the playoffs. 3 down linemen, 2 linebackers, 4 cornerbacks, 2 safeties, whatever you want to do, however you want to mix it up. And I think with Skandrick, I know he was injured this past year, and then he really hasn't been healthy since that 2014 season, where he really, he was one of the best corners. I think him and Charles Harris and another cornerback were the only cornerbacks in the league to have 88 pass attempts throwing at them without allowing a touchdown. And that's the Skandrick that I want to see back. But we all know Father Time is undefeated, especially injuries coming up, and I really think it is going to be like that. It's just might be just a starting position on paper for Skandrick, and I think Jourdan Lewis might end up going there. And I know we have a lot of expectations for these young guys, but it's just because that's what they are. They're young guys, and especially coming in last year with our young players, we should be used to now these young guys being in here and coming and contributing and making an impact right away. And that's what we want, and that's what we expect, and hopefully that's not asking a lot, but at the same time, that's what they need.
Now, I'm basing Skandrick's role or projected role by me only on the talent of Jourdan Lewis and hoping that, his off-the-field issues are fine. But Skandrick, I think, is going to have a good season. I think he's going to have a great season, actually, just because of those trade rumors that were coming out during the draft. I think Skandrick is definitely the guy who holds a grudge, has a chip on his shoulder. He's going to try and show out to the whole league so he can get a paycheck next year, like a big paycheck. He is 30, but the dude, he's got the heart and the will and the mentality to play into his later years.
With all these guys that we drafted, Chidobe, Jourdan, Xavier, and hopefully Marquez, I don't know if he ends up making the team, but for the first 3 guys specifically, I think Marinelli's going to have so much fun with not stressing over, especially the first game with Odell, B. Marsh, and Shepard, not stressing over what personnel are they going to put out there, but what personnel I'm going to put out there to match them. I think that's just going to be the biggest thing that's going to be really exciting this year from right off the bat, facing the Giants with that 3-headed monster they have with the puppy dog in the back and Eli.
And nobody's position responsibility is really set in stone because they're all so versatile. You got jacks of all trades in every position in the secondary, so you can move them all over the place. So the final picks of the 7th round were Joey Ivey, defensive tackle out of Florida, and Jordan Carrell, the defensive tackle out of Colorado. Both of these guys are one-technique defensive tackles. This is probably where you're going to see the Cowboys drafting one-techs, maybe the 5th round at the highest, until Rod Marinelli isn't the D coordinator. They just do not value that position. I remember way back in the draft that they picked Frederick. This guy wanted Sharif Floyd out of Florida. He was a one-tech guy, and there were some rumors going around that the Cowboys liked him. But I think at the end of the day, Marinelli was like, this isn't a position of value in this defense. They're just really the stuffers. They're not expected to do anything. So these guys are going to come in, add to the defensive line rotation. And, in Marinelli's defense, you just need as many bodies to throw at the offensive line as possible.
Ivy was a guy he's a real hard worker, talented as far as, he got really overlooked with Brantley, Tabor, Wilson, Anzalone, May. So many big guys from that Florida defense where you really got to go in depth and look at who else is over there contributing. And Ivy's just a solid guy hard worker in and out. And I know in the war room when they picked Ivy, Marinelli, he was pumped. He was really excited. He had a really good reaction to it. So hopefully that leads to good things.
You could say the same thing about Jordan Carrell too. Colorado's defense was great. They had 2 great outside corners, one of them which luckily we drafted. And I like that there's a couple teammates from college. At least these 2 guys will know each other. There'll be a little camaraderie there. It always helps out rookies in training camp to have somebody they know right off the bat.
Taco, you gotta destroy Eric Flowers the first game, man. Kill Eli. Like, Flowers is probably the worst left tackle in the NFC East.
I wish the game was on Tuesday just so everybody could be yelling Taco Tuesday in the stadium, but you know, we played on Sunday night, but whatever, we'll still freaking say Taco Tuesday. Get shirts made, get jerseys made, everything.
Yeah.
It's gonna be crazy.
Ryan Switzer, you'll see, we're gonna put up a picture up there. I literally had been wanting this guy since all the way back in October of 2016, man. He'll tell you, I've been tell him, man.
Yeah, I mean, he's been talking about him and Christian McCaffrey for forever. I mean, it's just like true love. Love at first sight.
I know talent when I see
White
it,
guys
man.
with speed. I mean, this dude's all over that.
And just to add back into the really in-depth analysis that we were taking, like he said about Woods, like maybe they could have taken him in the 4th round, but to say that, you know what, we're going to make Scott Linehan and Bisaccia happy here in the war room. Bisaccia entered the special teams guy, to say that they were going to take, you know what, we could add depth to the defense here, but we're going to take this guy right here. We're going to take Switzer. I think that says a lot.
And you really satisfied all the coaches that really didn't get in the room last year. Last year, I mean, they took Zeke. That was the big offensive get. I mean, and then Dak. I mean, those were the big offensive jewels. So this year, the defense, I mean, they really got in on the fun, and everyone was satisfied. I think this is going to be another great draft class. I mean, you come to expect it with Will McClay and the front office. You know, they've had great picks the last few years. So let's hope this is another one of those all-time classes. So that's it for the video. That pretty much closes up our thoughts. If you like this video and you want to see more, go ahead and subscribe to us on YouTube at Dos and Tres. And also hit the bell next to the subscribe button so you can get notified whenever we post any new videos.
If you want to keep up to all our recent news and everything, go ahead and follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Dos and Tres YT. Peace. Yeah.
Okay, it's rap packed to my pulse flat. We keep it real, no false rap. I got 4 cars and they all black. Got 4 bras and they all that. We call that ballin'. Doing this is my calling. Flow is so appalling. My phone off and she calling. I'm like, yeah, what it do? Penthouse, man, what a view. Fall back cause I'm coming through with my whole team. They coming too, that's real.